Welcome to the show, sports fans. This is the Treasure Valley Prepcast on IdahoSports.com.
That's right. Welcome in another edition of the Treasure Valley Prepcast, breaking down District 3 activities, 5A all the way down to 1A D2, week in, week out here on IdahoSports.com. I am Brandon Baney, wearing a Lapway sweatshirt, which is not District 3, but it's comfy, so I'm rolling with it. And let's roll on in with Logan Green. Logan, What's up?
Hey, Brandon, that is a good sweatshirt. I got one too, and I'm a fan of sweatshirt. I mean, I'm wearing a hoodie too, so it'd be nice to have hoodie weather in Idaho. We still haven't seen it yet, right? It's kind of crazy.
Pretty nice weather still, certainly. And speaking of the nice weather, we had the first state championships take place last week. The fall golf season for the first time ever in Idaho. 5A and 4A golf was held in the fall. The 5A state tournament was in Rexburg. The 4A state tournament was in Idaho Falls. And we had some really impressive team performances. On the 5A boys side, Eagle wins the championship by 22 strokes over second place Madison.
Yeah, that's incredible to win by that many. Just there was a couple of them that we've seen at state golf where the winner was a clear winner, where there wasn't much in terms of that. 1-2 was a very big step.
Yeah, Eagle was paced by Wheaton Ennis, who takes second overall in the individual race. You know, he lost to Ashton MacArthur of Madison by a single stroke, Logan. Did you hear anything about this, how this finish happened?
No, I did not hear about this finish. No, not on the individual level, no.
Okay, perfect. So for those of you that are watching this podcast on the IdahoSports.com YouTube channel or Facebook page, I'm going to share my screen and show you a couple of pictures and a video from Instagram that are like pretty awesome. If you're listening at IdahoSports.com or wherever you download your podcasts, this is from Ashton MacArthur's Instagram account. It's Ashton MacArthur 5. He is the Madison golfer that won the boys championship. So let me pull this up. If you're watching the video, make your screen full size. So this is Ashton celebrating after he, won the championship. He won by a single stroke. It came on the final putt of the final hole. And we'll get to that in a second. There he is celebrating, a nice hug. Here he is signing the green, right, after winning the championship. And then watch this video, Logan, because he's got Wheaton Ennis, a state champion from Eagle. Wheaton had won the title in previous years. He's got Wheaton Ennis, bearing down on him. He's got to sink a 30-foot putt to win the title. If he two putts it, then he's tied with Wheaton Ennis and they go to a playoff. Watch this putt from 30 feet out by Ashton MacArthur of Madison. There's going to be some serious bend to it. And again, it was from 30 feet out. Look at that. Oh, man. My gosh. And then here comes my favorite part on the celebration. Oh, look at the chest bump.
Oh, man. That's awesome. What a heck of a putt.
Isn't that crazy? Yeah. I had to show that, even though it's not Treasure Valley related. That was such an incredible putt that Ashton MacArthur sank that. I mean, holy cow, that was so impressive to see. But Wheaton Ennis does take second. Wheaton Ennis took second at districts as well. He lost to Trevor Garris of Capital, gets revenge in a roundabout way because Garris takes third in the individual race. And then also in the top 10 from the Treasure Valley, Bobby Kincaid of Nampa was even at 144. He took fourth overall. You also had Bo Saar of Eagle in a tie for eighth as well. So pretty good 5A boys golf performances.
Yeah, not bad. I mean, Eagle coming in first place, just, 22 strokes is a lot, but you look down the list and the other 5A victory or champion, I should say, won by even more strokes on the girls side. Rocky Mountain absolutely running away with the 5A girls championship, won by just a cool small 46 strokes, right? That is that's impressive.
Yeah, sorry, I was firing off an email as you were talking there. So
somebody's got to work.
You want to see? I'll show. I mean, I'm going to share my screen obviously in a second because we're going to show district soccer brackets as well. But look at the number of unread emails I've got right now. 63 of them that are from like coaches and ADs that I got to respond back to. It's just piling up on me. Okay, let's continue with our golf recap. Girls side, Rocky Mountain runs away with the title. Mountain View takes second. Boise takes third. So the Treasure Valley goes 1, 2, 3. But Rocky won by, what did we figure out the math on this?
46 strokes.
Yeah, it's insane, right?
It's almost a full round. I'm just kidding. That's not double that number. And then you got a full round, but that 46 is a lot to win by. They were plus 63, and next in line was Mountain View, and then they were at 109, and Boise was at 119. So the Treasure Valley with a clean 3 sweep, at least at the top, even though much further behind those second two.
Yeah. Rocky also has the individual champ. 3 of Rocky's golfers finished in the top 7. Emery Gibbs, your individual champ. She was 6 over par. Anna DeBell was 4th from Rocky Mountain, and Maggie Urian finished tied for 7th. Boise High's Kelly Goulet takes 2nd overall. She finishes 1 stroke behind Emery Gibbs for the individual championship. Ella Arnzen of Timberline was 3rd. You had Olivia Lammy from Middleton take 5th overall. And you also had Sammy Saroyan of Mountain View and Lily Miller of Mountain View go back-to-back at 9 and 10. And that's your individuals that excelled at state. Pretty good showing.
Yeah, great showing again. A couple more athletes in there. You mentioned them from Middleton and Mountain View coming in the top 10, and a very good weekend of golf over in Rexburg this weekend, or I guess I should say last weekend for teams in the Treasure Valley.
Right. 4A boys. Bishop Kelly wins to the surprise of no one. They don't get the individual title, though. Dallas Jackson ends up tied with Nate Nelson of Shelley, and Nelson wins the playoff. So Jackson has to settle for 2nd. Nelson is also the quarterback for Shelley, Logan. So he golfed on Friday, quarterbacked the Russets to a win over Idaho Falls on Friday night, then came back on Saturday morning and won the 4A state golf championship.
Yeah, luckily you didn't have to go far. Luckily it was right over there in their neck of the woods, so he could make that, because if state golf is anywhere else, that probably doesn't work out.
Yeah, exactly. The decision's a little more difficult if he is a little further away, certainly. Okay, so Dallas Jackson takes 2nd for Bishop Kelly. Nicholas Bischoff Jones takes 5th from BK. William Comstock was 6th, also from the Knights. Any other individuals in the top 10? We had no. That was it. So those 3 BK golfers, a little more parity in 4A, right? There's more teams from more regions. Certainly Twin Falls had a couple of golfers do really well. Shelley, of course, as we mentioned, and Minico also had some golfers place high. So
yeah,
congrats to BK.
When you move to the girls, Bishop Kelly finishes 2nd at girls, but they got run away with, just like the boy or Rocky Mountain girls ran away with it. And then at the 4A girls, Twin Falls girls run away from Bishop Kelly.
Yeah, and this was surprising, Logan, because Twin Falls and BK went head-to-head about a month ago at the Jerome Invitational, and Bishop Kelly won that day. They won the team race that day. So to see Twin Falls then come back and win by such a large margin was kind of surprising to me. Ava Schroeder of Twin Falls was the individual champ. She's also a member of the Bruins girls soccer team, the defending 4A champs. So she's got a chance to double dip at championships this fall. Good luck to Twin Falls. They're playing in the district championship today, actually, but that's Magic Valley stuff. Nobody cares about that in District 3. Let's talk about who else finished in the top 10 from the Treasure Valley in the 4A competition. Claire Hall of Valley View was actually the highest placing girl at 4th overall. You then had Kara Carter of Bishop Kelly, who tied for 7th, and Margaret Smock from BK, who took 10th. So,
yeah, if you look at I know they're not Treasure Valley folk, but Ava Schroeder, the winner, she was 11 under. The next place was +5. So she alone won by 16 strokes. That's crazy. That is, nobody was even in her stratosphere at state golf last week.
Yeah, from what I heard, people I talked to, they said she was the best golfer, male, female, 5A, 4A. She was the best golfer.
Awesome. Good for her.
Period. So, yeah, way to go, Ava Schroeder. So, all right, let's move to postseason soccer, Logan, where there were some district championships last night. We're recording this on Thursday, October 13th. The 5A girls soccer state bracket, the top half is already seeded. The top 4 seeds already penciled in, and you can find those brackets on our homepage, IdahoSports.com. We've got all of the district brackets on IdahoSports.com as well. So I'm going to share my screen again for those that are watching the video, and I'll put the brackets up on the screen so you can follow along there. Again, make your screen full size so it's a little easier to see. If you're listening to the podcast audio only, you can click on the district brackets on our homepage, IdahoSports.com, and follow along that way. Let's start on the girls' side, Logan. The district championship was last night, and it was a pretty epic battle. 1 versus 2, Rocky Mountain against Boise, and the Brave, the 2 seed, win 1-0. They scored very late in the second half. This match was scoreless for a large chunk of time.
Yeah, and these 2 teams, I saw them play on Monday night. They are phenomenal at defense, both of those teams. I mean, just grind it out. It was going to be tough for anybody to get anything on the board on either one of these teams. I look back to Monday's game where Boise beat Eagle. That was a game where Eagle seemed to be in control of much of the first half until Boise scored late in the first half in that one. It was CUNY Hooray that scored a goal that really it seemed like it woke Boise up. They're getting pushed by Eagle a little bit. Hooray's goal kind of on a breakaway out of nowhere. She shot it left side of the net, goes in. And that pushed them forward. They end up winning that game over Eagle, and then going in late and winning that game against Rocky Mountain last night. So a great run by Boise, who is looking to really, of any team out there, I don't want to call anybody the Buffalo Bills, but it seems like Boise is the Buffalo Bills of the early 90s, right? 4 straight state championship appearances for the Brave, and not one of those trophies they brought home had the 1 on it. So they're going to look. They've got the first step out of the way, right? Winning district championship. You've done that, been there, done that, and now the Brave are going to look to change their fortunes this year. That's got to be tough to go every single year and not win it.
Yeah, and you talked about CUNY Hooray scoring in that semifinal against Eagle. She scored the only goal last night, and it came with 1:09 on the clock.
It's crazy.
I mean, we were staring down the barrel of overtime possibly, and CUNY comes through with the goal.
She might be one of the fastest players there. I saw she outran multiple times everybody on that team. I mean, she was behind multiple times and somehow gets in front, and you thought she was offsides, but she wasn't. She's just fast. And on the goal that she scored against Eagle, it was just a pass from about, it was back in Boise's zone coming forward, and she caught it and just outran everybody coming across the field and kicked it going back towards the goal, and it just snuck in the left side. I mean, just rolled on the ground, sneaking in, and, her speed is a reason. I mean, she pushed that in. That was tough. And so 2 goals for her, 2 wins. So congrats to the Brave for getting it done.
Yeah, and we should mention that the Brave are doing this. The Idaho Statesman had a great article recapping the match last night. The Brave are doing this without Sammy Smith, one of their most dynamic athletes. She's currently at the U17 Women's World Cup with the U.S. national team in India, and they're not going to have her at all for state either. So, Boise is still fine. They didn't have Sammy for portions last year because she ran cross country as well, but they're finding a way. It's really impressive.
Yeah, and goalkeeper, their keeper Sophie Hills, she had some great saves, like some where I didn't think she was going to get to it, and she found a way. Great job on goalkeep for her. So just they've got the pieces, I think, to finally get over the hump this year.
Definitely. So let's take a look at what else happened. So Rocky Mountain goes to state as well. And remember, it's seeded according to Max Prep's rankings. So Boise will carry the number 2 seed at state. Lake City gets the 1. They're the defending 5A champs, and they're undefeated. Rocky will be the 3 seed. So Boise and Rocky Mountain could match up in the state semifinals. How crazy would that be?
And you got to think it's probably going to happen, right? Just the way it's been bouncing. And, these two teams, you look at them, they played back on September 26th, and Rocky Mountain won that game 2-0. So they played close, tight games. And, the road's going to go through each other, obviously. I think at the end of the day that you're going to see those two teams meet up again in the semifinals because they're very good. They're fun to watch.
Definitely. So the two semifinal teams that lost also were able to fight their way through and clinch. Eagle defeated Centennial 3-2. So Eagle advanced to state. That's over here. Eagle will be the 4 seed at state. Owyhee slips past Timberline in double overtime 4-3. So Owyhee advances. We're not sure where they're seated yet. We have to wait for the play-in matches. And speaking of those play-in matches, 2 of them on Saturday. You've got Owyhee taking on the second place team from District 5-6. That match will be tonight, Logan. It'll be either Madison or Thunder Ridge. Either way, that's going to be a very tough matchup for the Storm. And then up top, in a better matchup, I think for the Treasure Valley, Centennial will take on Coeur d'Alene. I like the Patriots.
Yeah, and you know what? Owyhee I thought looked really good in that game against Rocky. That was a 1-0 game in that matchup. And that one, there was chances. Owyhee had opportunities. It seemed like, to me at least, Rocky Mountain they put that goal midway through the first quarter or first half, and kind of went in a little bit of a defensive mode. Owyhee controlled the ball much of the second half in that game, just couldn't get one past the keeper. Couldn't really get a lot of great opportunities, but they're a tough team. So I'd like to see how they do. But Eagle, they're going to be sneaky coming in on that bottom half of the bracket. Lake City going to have to play against them. I mean, Eagle, if you look at what they did all year, they tied against Owyhee. They lost to Rocky by 1, but they lost to Boise by 1 in the regular season. They were right in there in the mix most of the year with those schools, and they have a goalkeeper that can get it done. Casey Southard in that game against Boise, there was a couple times where she was on her butt, sliding down on her backside, saving kicks. She did great on her back, going down, just laying out for it. She did not stay back and wait for it to come to her. She went towards it and made some phenomenal saves. And so if she can play and she can get that opportunity, I like Eagle to possibly make some noise and make it tough for Lake City in that second round if they can advance past the first.
Yeah, it'll be pretty interesting for sure. And I misspoke. Timberline beat Owyhee 4-3 in double overtime. Timberline advances to state. Again, we don't know where they're seated yet because we have to wait for these play-in matches, but some very good competitive soccer on the girls' side. The boys' bracket was a little chaotic as well in 5A, where right away, Bora, the 5 seed, kind of went on this run, right? They get Eagle in overtime in the opening round, 1-0. Then they take out the top seed, Boise, 1-0 in the semis on Monday. And then they play Timberline pretty tough in the district championship last night. But congratulations to the Wolves. They went 2-1, but both Timberline and Bora advancing to state.
Yeah, and when a team can get hot like that, that's all that matters. And it's dangerous, right? To have a team like Bora, who now all of a sudden has this confidence that maybe, was probably there during the year, but has risen even more, right? After winning big in the conference tournament and being right there. From making a big splash in it and winning the districts. But they get that automatic big. They win that second place spot. They're going to be tough. And the number 1 seed has to go through the backside of the bracket. And even the number 3 seed is going to play a play-in game.
Yeah, it's pretty wild to look at. So the other teams that clinch spots, Eagle beat Mountain View 3-0. Mountain View was the other team that kind of was on a dark horse run. They upset Rocky Mountain, the 3 seed, 4-1, as you alluded to, Logan. So Eagle advanced to state. And then how about this? Boise and Rocky Mountain. I think a lot of people thought, they could meet for the district championship. No, that was a consolation bracket matchup. Boise wins 2-0, so Boise advances to state. Rocky Mountain's now got to go play Lake City in a play-in match in Lewiston on Saturday. Mountain View will take on second place from District 5-6. Again, that match is tonight. That will be either Highland or excuse me, it'll be either Rigby or Madison. I think it's probably going to be Madison there, but we'll see.
And you look at that Lake City and Rocky Mountain game and say that either one of those teams could be right there at state and not be the low seed at state, right? And it stinks that one of them is not going to fully be there. I mean, that is a state tournament game, so technically by the book, right? They made it, but we all know it's not the same as being in that final 8. But at the end of the day, you'll lose one and you're done. The quest for a state championship is over at this point if you lose. Obviously, there's still stuff to play for, but you got to win with whoever's in front of you. So those two teams will come bring it on Saturday up in Lewiston.
Timberline will be the number 1 overall seed at state for boys 5A soccer. Boise will be the 2 seed. So again, the Max Preps ranking system that's used to seed the teams at state, it's based only on regular season play. So a team like Boise, they can stub their toe at districts and still not be penalized too badly for it. Boise fans will tell you that's great. Bora fans will probably tell you, yeah, it's not so great.
Yeah.
So it just depends on your situation. Let's look at 4A soccer. District championships will be tonight, Logan, as we're recording this. So by the time people are listening to this, probably they'll know what happened. But you've got 1 versus 2 on the girls' side, Bishop Kelly against Valley View. On the other side is Ridgeview and Skyview. The winner of Ridgeview, Skyview will get to challenge the loser of BK and Valley View. Only 2 spots available to go to state.
Yeah, and Bishop Kelly's just been rolling through everything so far. And so we'll see how that one shakes up tonight. Should be a good one between the Knights and the Falcons. And it is kind of interesting how if you lose your district championship, it's always tough. You make it to the district championship and you could be a goal away from winning a district championship. And then at the end of the day, you might be going home. You might not go to the state tournament because then you have to turn around and play somebody that's coming out of the backside of the bracket. And you look at that semifinal game that Valley View had with Skyview, it was 5-4. That was tough. So if you're Valley View and you end up playing a Skyview again, you're going to get a tough matchup in the semi, or in that, essentially that play-in game is essentially what it is.
Yeah, Bishop Kelly finished the regular season as the number 2 ranked team in the Max Preps ratings. Only Moscow finished higher. Moscow has to play Sandpoint tonight. Sandpoint finished 3rd. So you're talking about 1 versus 3 in the Max Preps rankings up north in a district championship, and only 1 team gets to go to state. So that's brutal. So BK could be the number 1 overall seed if Sandpoint can defeat Moscow. The same thing happened, Logan, in 3A girls soccer last night. This is District 6. So again, outside the Treasure Valley, but Sugar Salem was undefeated on the season in girls soccer, and they lost to Teton 1-0 last night in the district championship. And that's it. No chance to get to state otherwise. 1 bid was available, 1 bad match, undefeated season over, state tournament trip over. Brutal.
Yeah, that hurts. That's got to be sickening for them. And I don't know. It's conversations that have existed elsewhere about representation in state tournaments. And I mean, at the end of the day, I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. That just stinks. I guess the answer is win your games and you're in.
Right.
But man, that's brutal.
Yeah, it's just, gut wrenching for sure. 4A boys soccer, same deal, district championships tonight. They're playing these matches simultaneously at Valley View. So they've got 2 fields. So you're going to have the girls district championship going on at one time simultaneously with the boys district championship tonight at Valley View. 1 versus 2 here, Caldwell, Bishop Kelly, and then it's Valley View, Ridgeview in the loser out game. And again, winner of Ridgeview, Valley View will get to challenge the loser of BK Caldwell. I really like the Cougars here. They swept the regular season series with BK. Both matches were tight, but Caldwell's got the experience. They've got the talent. And look at BK. They barely got past Valley View. They had to win 5-4 on PKs.
Yeah. Give me Caldwell. I mean, like you said, you mentioned it earlier in the season. They met back on August 23rd, a 2-0 victory for Caldwell. And then Caldwell beat them back on September 15th, 1-0. But yeah, give me Caldwell. That's you know what? They just have the experience. They've been there. They've done that. They're so good. They're just they are what 4A soccer teams want to be, right? They're the program that people want to be. And in that situation, I lean towards those that have been there, done that.
Caldwell more than likely will be the number 2 seed overall at state if they get there. Sandpoint is the only team ahead of them. Sandpoint plays in their district championship today as well. So that's 4A. And finally, let's take a look at 3A girls soccer. District championship today, 1 versus 2. McCall Donnelly against Fruitland. This was kind of underreported, Logan. We've been singing the praises of Fruitland, the defending 3A champs in girls soccer all year. They actually tied with McCall Donnelly for the district championship in the regular season. McCall Donnelly won the tiebreaker and got the number 1 seed at districts. This is a team that matches up very well with Fruitland. And so, you know, I don't think we gave McCall Donnelly enough credit this year. This is going to be a fascinating matchup.
Yeah, so they played a couple of times this year, right? They played back in September, on September 6th, and that's a game that Fruitland won 2-0. And then McCall Donnelly got the best of them a few weeks later in a 4-3 game. And then they tied 4-4. And Brandon, I said it a couple of times that if you want to beat / tie Fruitland, you got to score 4 goals. And McCall did it twice. They did it 2 times. They beat them once, scoring a couple of goals, and then they tied them. And they get that tiebreaker. They get to be the home team or in the game tonight. So, well, they are not at home, but they are.
They are.
No, it isn't. They're at home. It's at McCall. So a huge advantage, right? That you get to be the home team in that game. And yeah, coming into it, it's going to be a great game between these two. And then somebody's going to end up playing in a play-in game.
Yeah, loser of that will play Snake River in a play-in match. Snake River was the 3 seed in District 5. They upset Marsh Valley, the 2 seed. So, whoever gets there, I think, has an easy time in terms of getting to state. Look at the firepower. 6-1, McCall Donnelly over Homedale. 6-1, Fruitland over Weiser. And how about this was kind of an underreported story too. Homedale, it's the first time in a couple of years they've had girls soccer. And so they weren't, they didn't play a full league schedule this year. They kind of had a modified schedule with the caveat that, okay, we know we'll automatically be the number 5 seed going into districts. They beat Payette 6-2. I think Homedale's ready to be a full-fledged member.
Yeah. Yeah. When you can win like that and put up you scored a goal against McCall Donnelly, it's 6-1, but that's a great team. The Vandals are. And so to be able to hang in there, I think they've taken that next step.
Definitely. So yeah, McCall Donnelly will host a girls-boys doubleheader tonight for district championships. They did it for the semifinals. They will do it for the finals tonight as well, because the McCall Donnelly boys are also the number 1 seed. They're taking on the 2 seed Weiser at 5 o'clock. That should say 6 o'clock tonight. The girls will play at 4. The boys will play at 6. Look at what happened here. This has been an interesting tournament. Payette beats Ambrose by forfeit. Ambrose didn't have enough players, so they just forfeited. McCall Donnelly puts up a touchdown on Payette in the semifinals. Double overtime. Weiser gets past Fruitland, the 2 over the 3, 3-2. And now you've got Weiser and McCall Donnelly. And we talk about brutal, Logan. There's no opportunity for second place to get in via a play-in match. It is win and go to state, lose and stay home.
Yeah, and those are 2 good teams again. I mean, we talked about last year, we talked a lot about Weiser soccer and how good they are. They have, won a couple state championships, been right in the mix year in and year out, and somebody's not going. And you look at the season records, you got to like McCall Donnelly, undefeated on the season, 11-0-2. Weiser on the other side, they're 8-5-1, 6-1-1 in conference. And it's going to be a tough way for one of these 2 teams to lose. I mean, I like McCall Donnelly in this one. They could end up with the clean sweep, right? Both of their teams going to state this year.
Yeah, it would be a great story for the fans in McCall. I don't know, in these district championship matchups, we've already seen a couple of teams that came in with the upper hand. When you play a team so many times in one year, it gets really hard to continue to beat them and beat them and beat them. And let's not forget, the last time these 2 teams played, Logan, at the end of the regular season, they tied 2-2. So
yeah, I mean, they've played 3 times, and aggregate that score is 3-2. Like they have played neck and neck essentially. One goal is the difference in a 1-0 victory for McCall over Weiser. That was almost 2 months ago at this point. It was almost 1 month and 30 or 29 days ago, or however you do the math. It was almost 2 months that they played. No, excuse me, I'm bad at math. 1 month.
Yep.
I'm already thinking it's November. That's not good. I guess I'm ready for Thanksgiving. It doesn't feel anything like November. But anyways, yeah, a whole month ago, a lot can change in a month. I mean, you see how many games they've played since then. So you're right, Brandon. It's a toss-up. They look good. Both teams look good. And this would be another instance, right? If Weiser can pull the upset in the district final, then McCall Donnelly doesn't go. It's very, like you mentioned with Sugar Salem on the other side.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. Something similar happened last year in the 3A ranks. I'm pretty sure. Let me see if I can pull that up. We've got some of the old brackets here. Bear with me for a second. Sorry, this is really fascinating podcasting. 2021. I'm trying to remember. Yeah, McCall Donnelly, the 2, knocked out Weiser, the 1 last year on PK, 6-4. And Weiser never got a chance to. They had come off of being in the championship game, and they didn't get a chance to go back. So we've seen this movie before.
Yeah, and it could very well end up being, it could be Weiser that's left out again. But last year it was the 1 that was left out. So will the 1 be left out or the 2? Who knows? It stinks either way for either one of those teams.
That's going to be a must-watch match tonight for sure, though, in McCall. All right, let's talk real quick. Postseason volleyball has officially started. Only one district has gotten going, and it's the 11-team District 3 for Class 1A D1, the Western Idaho Conference with 11 teams. They got to get started ahead of everybody else. So we had play-in matches on Monday night. Number 9 Gem State knocked off number 8 Vision Charter 3-0. You had the 7 seed Riverstone beat the 10 seed Centennial Baptist 3-0, and then a 3-1 win for Greenleaf Friends, the 6 seed over Notice, the 11 seed. And then we actually had the opening round of matches last night, Logan. Rimrock, the 1 seed, they swept Gem State 3-0. The 5 seed Wilder beat 4th seeded Victory Charter 3-2, went the distance. Liberty Charter, the 2 seed, they swept Riverstone 3-0. And then the 3 over the 6, Idaho City sweeps Greenleaf Friends 3-0. Rimrock, kind of the favorite here. They went undefeated in regular season play. There are 2 bids available, and 3rd place also has a chance to get in via a state play-in match.
Yeah, and this is every year whenever this district plays volleyball or when it gets to basketball season, this bracket is always the one that I have to look at 5 times because there's just there's so much going on at the top and then at the bottom. But like you said, Rimrock looking good so far, and volleyball I've always thought is cruel when you see a 3-0 score, because that 3-0 score could in all reality be just that close, but you lose 25-23 3 times. It doesn't show the full story, and that's always one thing that always can be brutal about volleyball, where you can just be right there and just it can be backbreaking. But right now, Rimrock in the driver's seat.
Yep. So we'll keep an eye on that. They don't play again until Saturday at Caldwell High School, neutral site for the rest of the tournament. So we will have to wait and see how that transpires. We'll talk more postseason volleyball on next week's edition of the Prepcast because this is the only district action that's actually started. So let's talk football now, Logan, where the big story was last week. The top 4 teams in the 5A met up. The top 2 teams in the Foothills division, the top 2 teams in the River division. I think we have to start with Meridian, Rocky Mountain. That had the more exciting finish, right?
Hey, and I have been on Meridian's side all year long. I have said that I thought Meridian was better than Rocky Mountain, just from what I've seen this year. And I'm going to say that them winning was my validation of being the smartest one in the row. I did win game picks this week, so I'm going to call myself a genius here. that I'm the smartest guy in Idaho. I'm just kidding. But that is a very tight game. And those two teams, they might be the best two teams. You look, do you want to use the, transitive property, right? So this weekend over in Eastern Idaho, when Highland beat Rigby, that was the other big monster in the room besides Rocky Mountain and Meridian. And Meridian beat Highland earlier in the year. And so you look at it and say, I think Meridian might have staked its claim on being the best 5A team in the state right now. And, they had kind of not been a factor for a long time. And that big victory, at the end, that one came down to the end to a Hail Mary that was completed, but just couldn't cap it off with that 2-point conversion that Meridian, I think, looks to be the team to beat through the rest of October and then through November during the state playoffs.
Yeah, so Rocky was down 14-6. Tegan Sweeney throws up a Hail Mary with 1 second left. It's tipped and then caught by Luke Lucchini. He's been a starter since his sophomore year at Rocky. He was originally the fullback. Now he's kind of morphed into a more of a tight end type player, but Luke Lucchini catches this Hail Mary heave for Rocky, but they're still down 14-12. They've got to go for 2. And they give it to Art Williams, their all-conference running back. He gets stopped at the 1, and Meridian holds on to win 14-12. So Meridian clinches the Foothills division. They will play in the SIC championship game next week against the Eagle Mustangs, as Eagle defeats Mountain View in the River Division battle of the top two teams, 28-19.
Yeah, that's going to be – and those two teams, I think they played the opening week of the season, so they have met – that a game that Eagle won or Meridian won, but Eagle has been on a roll ever since then, and they're going to look to kind of get back on track. But and they had a big win against Mountain View, and I think Mountain View had been some of the lower teams have been a little bit more competitive with Mountain View than Eagle going throughout the season, and I think at least it didn't surprise me to see Eagle come away with a pretty decisive victory in that one, 2 scores. But it should be fun next week. Of course, no matter what, you clinch that spot, though, you get a bye in the first round. Doesn't matter what happens in that next game. I mean, it matters where you get seated. But, man, a bye, that might alone be the best result for any team.
Definitely. And Eagle, they make no bones about it. They had to kind of retool their offense in the middle of the season, and now they say basically, we're going to line up and run the ball, 40 times a game with Roy Hall and Ian Duarte and, just a myriad of players. The quarterback, Jake Longson, is really a rushing threat. And they occasionally will hit you over the top with a home run, but they love to run the ball and then strike deep. And that's exactly what they did in this game over Mountain View, where Longson throws an 85-yard touchdown to Ian Duarte. He was 4 of 5 passing for 109 yards. He only threw 5 passes. So this is an Eagle team that's going to run on first, second, and third down and occasionally try and hit a home run past you.
Yeah. And they, they're a good team. And it's a different team. Like you said, retooled themselves midway through the season. It's going to be interesting to see how they face up against Meridian, all right, in 2 weeks, and what's the difference? What has changed between these two teams? Obviously, Meridian's a better team, and we know that Eagle is probably a better team than they were in that first game, and it was close. And so now they're gonna play each other again, and I think there's a lot on the line in this game. I mean, obviously, you win, or no matter what, you get a bye, but if you win this, you get home field advantage through the playoffs. You will be the home team in your first game, and then you will be the home team in the second game. And that's big because the 1A, so the winner here, right, the 1A from the West, they're going to play the 1 from the East, who I think is going to be the toughest matchup besides maybe the other one, right, or Rocky Mountain. And so you potentially get a Highland or a Rigby, but at home, which would be big.
Definitely. Other highlights from the 5A SIC, Middleton and Capital, that battle for 3rd and 4th in the Foothills division. Middleton wins pretty convincingly, 49-21. That's kind of what we thought would happen. Cuna really fumbled here. They had a chance to not only play themselves into a top 4 position in their division, but really, locking up a playoff spot in terms of, at large winning percentage against 5A opponents. And they lose to Hawaii 20-17. Give credit to the Storm, because the Storm were down 17-13 with like less than a minute to go, or just over a minute to go. And Tanner Cope scores on a short touchdown run. And then on the ensuing drive, we know Cole Lukanga is a great quarterback for CUNA. He gets picked off by Cade Martin. Cade Martin also plays quarterback for the Hawaii offense. And so great job by the Storm. I'm getting Hawaii fans emailing me now asking, hey, what do the Storm have to do to get into the playoffs? Well, they've got to win their play-in game. But now Hawaii is in the mix at 4-4 against 5A competition, if a couple of other teams around the state slip and fall.
Yeah, because what matters is beating 5A schools, right? So, add another one to the list. And that's where I think you might see an advantage for the teams here in the Treasure Valley, that maybe they don't win, but they pick up more 5A wins. They're going to have a chance that last week of the season to pick up another one. But obviously, if you pick one up, you're in. And it really shakes up those interconference matchups that you're going to see next week, where everybody stands. CUNA might have played their way out of that, to be honest. I mean, they're going to have to win their final game of the season to get one of those spots. And, this week they do play Boise. So you like their chances in that one, but the Brave have been an improved team this year than they've been in the past. So it'll be interesting to see Nampa and Mountain View play this weekend. The winner gets the 2 spot for that game, a difference in who you play there. So we'll see how it shakes out. But a lot going on, still a lot to be decided, at least I think in that River division, in terms of where people are going to be lined up. I think the top side, I think it's pretty set. I think that the foothills, we know the 1 through 5, but on the other side, the 2 through 5, at least, I think still to be determined.
Yeah. All of the spots are set except for, like you said, 2nd and 3rd in the River division. Mountain View and Nampa will play there. And this is where maybe the system is broken a little bit. CUNA may have found a glitch in the game, so to speak, because CUNA, now is going to take 6th in their division. And we know that the 6th place teams from each division play each other. So Hawaii, by beating CUNA, jumps ahead to the 5 spot in the River division. Hawaii's reward is to play Rocky Mountain in that cross-divisional game for a playoff spot. CUNA gets a winless Timberline team now in the battle of 6th place teams. And although there's not a playoff spot attached to that game, that's another 5A win for CUNA. That's going to put them over 500 if they can beat Boise this weekend as well.
If they finish with wins against Boise and Timberline, which is very possible, then that gives them a couple more 5A, 2 more 5A wins, which could, you hate to see it, but man, it could bump them over a team that is a potentially top 5 team from another area of the state, just by virtue of that.
There's got to be a better way to do this, where Hawaii's basically penalized for beating CUNA, and CUNA gets a layup. But I don't know. There could be some tweaking done.
It's tough. Yeah.
Definitely.
Well, I mean, what was I? Never mind. There was some other bracket that I was looking at where it was like, well, it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world if you lost. I'll think of it at some point, but looking at it, and obviously nobody wants to play to lose, but it was like, it was the we can talk about it when we get to 1A football. It has to do with Garden Valley.
Okay.
So we'll get there.
We'll get there. 4A, Bishop Kelly, Emmett, the top 2 teams played last week. BK wins 43-19. Hadley Smith, 15 of 19 passing, 174 yards, 4 touchdowns. BK will be the number 1 seed for the 4A playoffs, according to the Max Preps ranking. There's no disputing it. BK continues to roll. Emmett will get into the playoffs. Valley View right now locked into that 3rd slot. We mistakenly said on last week's Prepcast that District 3 would get 4 automatic bids, and that Skyview would be in. That is not true. I was going off of the official IHSAA rule book, which they published at the start of the year. Then as the season started, they changed how many auto bids would be awarded from each district. Now District 3 only gets 2. They didn't update that on the rule book, which I was looking at. They did update it on their official bracket. So anyways, only 2 auto bids from District 3. That's BK and Emmett. We think Valley View is going to get in. Skyview's got some work to do. They need some teams ahead of them to lose. They would be out right now if the playoffs started.
So they're more at-large bids then.
Yes, there are 8 auto bids and then 8 at-large bids.
That might be the best way to do it. That's really good because only 2 get in, but if you're good enough, you're getting a bid, right? You're going to get one of those bids, and there's a lot of teams over in Eastern Idaho that are pretty good. Like I think of Shelley that really hadn't done much early in the season, and then they got into conference play and just started rolling through people. Like there's a lot of good 4A teams over in Eastern Idaho this season.
Yeah, and because of the Max Preps ranking system, if you're in a strong league, you kind of the rising tide lifts all boats. Right now, all 6 members of District 6 are projected to be in the playoffs. Go figure.
so even Idaho Falls is in right now. All right.
Yep. Idaho Falls, Bonneville, Hillcrest, they're all sub 500 and all projected to be in.
But so. I would, if those teams played against somebody over here, I think that they, look who they've been playing all year. I think if they matched up against a Columbia or Skyview, that they would, I think I would lean more towards them at this point in the year based on what I've seen from both sides. So
certainly, yeah, for Skyview, it's been a little bit of a disappointing year, making the move down from 5A. They've got a great quarterback in Max Cutforth. I think people thought that the Hawks would do better, but they just haven't been able to get it going this year. 3A, we have the showdown, right, for what we think is going to be the district title. Homedale beats Weiser 21-7. Jackson Dines 156 yards, 2 touchdowns. He also ran for the 3rd score, so he did all of the scoring for Homedale. Weiser falls, although now you've got Fruitland is also still undefeated, right? Fruitland finishes the year with Homedale and Weiser. So Fruitland could run the table and win the district title as well. But no matter what order they finish in, your top 3 is going to be Homedale, Fruitland, Weiser in some order. All 3 will get the auto bids. McCall Donnelly is also comfortably in as an at-large team from District 3 as well.
Yeah. So, we're going to have a lot of representation from the district this year, which I think is good. I think that Weiser team is really good, but obviously Homedale a little bit better, at least in the regular season. Right now, 21-7 on that victory last week. Does Homedale seems like the offense is a little bit better than last year, and I think we mentioned this before, is that last year they couldn't score against Sugar Salem in that semifinal game, and that was the difference. And I think that offense a little bit better this year, and they I think that they have the pieces to finally, they're the team that has just been right on the edge for years of winning a state championship. And Weiser got it done last year, which probably left a bad taste in their mouth, but they'd love to get it done this year, and they're going to have a good chance.
If the playoffs started today, Homedale would be the 1 seed, Sugar would be the 2 seed. How fitting would it be if those two got through again to the
and they met in the semifinals last year. They meet every year. It wouldn't be a playoffs without those 2 teams meeting up.
Definitely. 2A football. What happened in the 2A ranks? Nothing too crazy. Melba won over Marsing, which was to be expected. All the usual suspects won. So it's basically, Melba is on cruise control, right? They're 2-0 in the league with 2 conference games still to come. Right now, for the moment, Nampa Christian is in second at 2-1. They play Coal Valley Christian and they already lost to Coal Valley Christian and Melba. So they basically, there's 3 bids available. It's going to come down to, I believe, the last game of the regular season, where New Plymouth plays Coal Valley Christian, and then this Friday when New Plymouth takes on Nampa Christian. So sorry, I got this all mixed up. Nampa Christian beat New Plymouth last week. That gives them the leg up on the Pilgrims. And now Nampa Christian, when they play Coal Valley Christian in the regular season finale, that will probably be for 2nd and 3rd place. If that makes sense. Clear as mud.
I agree with that. And I think, yeah, exactly. And you know what? Like last week we talked a little bit about how Melba gets the advantage after North Fremont or after the West Side game against Bear Lake, but then now North Fremont lost pretty big to Aberdeen. And so now all of a sudden, I think you mentioned it. You said, I want to call the 2A games because it's the most wide open. I think there are so many good teams at 2A. who knows what's going to happen right now, because now all of a sudden Aberdeen, they finished out the year, I believe, with Bear Lake and Westside. So it could
Correct.
be a mess with those teams beating up on each other. And now with North Fremont with a loss to Aberdeen, who knows how it shakes out in terms for Melba. It could be a good thing for Melba.
You want to talk about how screwy the Max Preps ratings are in 2A football? Aberdeen beats North Fremont, but North Fremont is still ranked ahead of Aberdeen in Max Preps rankings. North Fremont is 3, Aberdeen is 4. Bear Lake beat Westside, and Westside is still ranked ahead of Bear Lake. Westside is 1, Bear Lake is 2.
Man, yeah.
What?
Aberdeen's going to have a shot, right, to crank out some win. Those 3, I think, are Aberdeen finishes with both of those. That's a different Prepcast, but I think there's chance for some movement in those rankings depending on how those games shake out. Probably not much, but some.
Yes. And so again, we like Melba to win the title, Coal Valley Christian, Nampa Christian to get the second and third slots. And then remember, this year, the 2A football committee has the discretion to modify the first round matchups. If they're going to seed it with Max Preps. And then if there's a matchup where it's 2 teams from the same district or one team having to travel a really long ways, they have the discretion to change the matchup. So again, I'm very intrigued to see what happens with that, because you may have an easier time for the teams from District 3 maybe playing teams from District 2, which is not as strong this year. And all those East Idaho teams might be colliding with each other in the first round, which would be crazy to think about from Districts 5 and 6. So keep an eye on it. 1AD1, the story still is Notice. Rimrock, they're on this collision course. Rimrock does play Idaho City this weekend. Winner of that basically moves into second place in the conference. Idaho City has already fallen to Notice, but if the Wildcats can beat Rimrock, then Idaho City all of a sudden is on the inside track to get that second auto bid. There's only going to be 2 teams in the playoffs from District 3. I personally like Rimrock, and if Rimrock does win, then it sets up Rimrock against Notice in the regular season finale for the district title.
Right. And, I think Notice takes that pretty easily. I think it's Notice's to lose, to be honest. But Rimrock probably going to find their way playing at state this year. So congrats to them for making it and doing well. Obviously, one more game really to determine that this week. But the Raiders put themselves in a great position by winning winning where they should win so far on the season.
Certainly. And then 1AD2. Let's talk about the game that you were on the call for last week, Logan, where Garden Valley really takes it to Horseshoe Bend. They end up go ahead.
They won that are you looking at the exact final, Brandon?
Yes. Oh, hey, real quick before we dive into that, I did want to give a shout out to Wilder. They beat Greenleaf Friends last Thursday, 88-51. What a fun game that was.
Oh, man.
Did you see the stat line for Julian Neri, the quarterback for Wilder?
I did not.
He was 6 of 8 passing for 157 yards and 5 touchdowns. And then he also ran the ball 6 times for 141 yards and 4 touchdowns. So he had 9 total touchdowns.
Oh my gosh. On 12 plays, 9 touchdowns on 12 plays.
Yeah. Think about that.
On his 6 runs and 6 passes. That's incredible. That's awesome.
Yeah.
What a heck of an effort.
Game ball goes to Julian Neri of Wilder for sure.
Oh yeah, for sure. But Horseshoe Bend, coming into that game, I think a lot of people we didn't know what to expect from Garden Valley. I think they had played teams that maybe you look at the schedule and say those aren't the strongest teams out there, and have they just been beating up on cupcakes? And they kind of had, but they put it to Horseshoe Bend. I mean, it was the 50-14, something like that in that ballpark. Just incredible. The defense for Garden Valley is something, and it's going to be tough. And they have not given up a lot of points all year. And one of those plays with Blaine Meyer found himself in this little bubble out of nowhere and took it 50 yards to the house on a catch. Real quick play, but Horseshoe Bend really did not go on a long, sustained drive all night. They struggled all night long. And 7 turnovers Garden Valley forced inside their own So Horseshoe Bend had gotten inside Garden Valley territory, 7 turnovers on that side of the field, 5 interceptions, 2 fumbles, and 2 of them got taken back for touchdowns. Just that Garden Valley team is very good. And I mean, they are very good. And I was curious what we were going to see, and they were good. They are tough. Tacoma Kelly playing quarterback. We always hear about the other Kelly, right? But Tacoma was playing quarterback, and that guy was running all over the field. He had like an 82-yard touchdown run in the second half, where he at one point was turned backwards toward his own goal line running. Like he literally, usually you see him backing up. No, he literally had turned straight and was running back that way. Somehow gets he's a phenomenal athlete. Covey has to watch out for the best athlete in the family, because he played a phenomenal game. And this is what I wanted to mention, Brandon. If you look at the bracket for the 1A D2, right, it's predetermined, so you know where you're going to be, right?
Right.
If you win the district, so the district championship is coming down to this week, right? Council, Garden Valley in Council Friday night. The winner wins the district, essentially. But you know what? If you win, whose side of the bracket are you on?
Kendrick.
You're on Kendrick's side. If you lose, you're not on Kendrick's side. You look at it, the other, quote, A team would probably be Water Springs at this point, I believe, the 5-6 winner.
Yep.
Would you rather your semifinal game be against Water Springs or against Kendrick? I mean, I don't think that's what it's going to end up, because I think because I mean, obviously it's probably going to be Dietrich who you play in that game. I think Dietrich will probably beat the 5-6 winner and move on. And I guess I don't want to play Dietrich either, but I think I would rather play Dietrich than Kendrick. I don't think anybody wants to touch Kendrick with a 10-foot pole. I think if you want to play for a state championship, that's what I'll say. That I think your path is better if you lose Friday, and that's not, nobody wants to say that. Nobody's going to come out and play to lose, but I think the path looks easier if you lose that game, and that stinks to say it, but I think it's true.
Yeah, your path to advance further in the tournament is better as the 2 seed. I agree with you, Logan. Let's play this out. If you are the champion of District 3, you get a first round bye, and then you have to play either Castleford or Clark Fork. You're going to play Castleford. That's a team that was a Final Four team last year. There's no guarantee.
And I don't know if I want to play that game either. Yeah. I don't want to play that game.
There's no guarantee you win that quarterfinal matchup. So you could be one and done if you're the district champ. If you take second, let's say Garden Valley takes second, you have to travel in the first round up north to either Lewis County or Timberline Weippe, which is a long road trip, but definitely a winnable game.
I think, yeah.
And then if you win that, the next week you're headed right back to North Idaho to Mullen St. Regis. Now, Mullen St. Regis is good, but that's an easier game, I think, than Castleford, right?
Right. Yeah. You would think, right? Yeah. Castleford, right? They beat Camas County. They beat them a few weeks ago by a lot, and Camas County beat Horseshoe Bend by a lot. And so, I mean, probably even a little bit tougher, a little bit more than Garden Valley did. I think Castleford, that's a tough matchup. But I just like the bottom of the bracket. I think having to potentially play Castleford in the first round, and then if you get past that, you're going to get Kendrick. I'd rather take my chances with Timberline or Lewis County, and then take my chances with Mullen. We did see Horseshoe Bend go up to Mullen a couple years ago and lose up there in a tough game in the snow, but that's not a knock on Mullen. It's just that's more of a respect to the other side, to Castleford and to Castleford and Kendrick.
Definitely. I mean, there's no easy path, but there's, I mean,
there's an easier path to play for a state championship. And I think
yeah. So let me ask you this. So Horseshoe Bend is a team I was really high on coming into the year. I thought they would win the conference. And now obviously they are fighting for their playoff lives. They have to win this game Friday night against Tri-Valley. This is the game that's going to decide that third bid from District 3, and Horseshoe Bend, the urgency is now. They have to win.
Yeah.
Are they capable of, I mean, what's been going on?
I think they'll win. They're a good team. I think it was Garden Valley is better than everybody thought they were.
Yeah. Okay.
They're just smash in the mouth. I mean, it was just like, they're tough. Garden Valley was just very good. I think Garden Valley, I was talking to some guys in the press box, and they were just saying that they're even, Horseshoe Bend guys were saying this team, they're better than Council. That Council, they were in that game, and they were never in this game. Never. It was Garden Valley's from end to end. But I think that's more about Garden Valley than it is about Horseshoe Bend. And so I think Horseshoe Bend still gets it done. And you know what? If you finish third in the conference, where you play Dietrich. Well, that was fun. So yeah, I mean, you get a fun trip to Dietrich, but that's tough. I just think I think Garden Valley is better than everybody thought they were. And I think that was the story from Friday.
Me included. I was very low on Garden Valley. I've learned my lesson. You know what I forgot along the way? You know, they piled up all these wins, and I was like, prove it against a tough team, and they did on Friday against Horseshoe Bend. You know what I forgot along the way, Logan? And I said this on the 8-man Prepcast earlier today as well. I forgot that Jason Yearsley is one hell of a coach.
Oh yeah,
he's so good.
He's great. They did so good. I mean, they looked good. They just looked ready to go, and that it wasn't even a doubt. I mean, the Korn brothers, they were phenomenal. Loved watching them in that game. Between them, I think it was Zimmer had 2 interceptions. He took one back to the house, or he was all over the place. Just they were very good. They were very good, and I'm high on them. I would love to see them matched up against a Dietrich or a Castleford. I think they would present problems for those teams with their defense.
Yeah, it's going to be really fascinating to see how it all unfolds Friday night, Council in Garden Valley for sure. All right, Logan, I think for the first time ever, we crossed the 1 hour mark on the Prepcast.
Yeah,
that's
playoff time, I guess, right?
That's never a good sign. Thanks to our audience for hanging with us. I try to keep these, shorter, but there's just so much going on with fall sports that they'll get shorter as we progress further into October. But for now, I'm going to step out because we've gone long. So Logan, rest up. We'll be back again next week to break it all down again. We'll talk postseason volleyball. I will say, soccer fans, be on the lookout next Tuesday night. IdahoSports.com. We like to do these live state tournament preview shows ahead of all the big state tournaments. So Tuesday night at 7:00, I'm going to be going live with Christian Wiener. He's a great writer for us. He's been writing the weekend preview every Friday for IdahoSports.com. And we're going to be breaking down the boys and girls soccer brackets. We'll tell you key players to keep an eye on. We'll take questions and shout outs and comments from the fans. It'll be live on the IdahoSports.com YouTube channel, Facebook page, and on Twitter as well. Tuesday night, 7:00. That's where you'll get all your state soccer coverage. So next week, Logan, it'll just be football and volleyball here on the Prepcast.
Yep. We'll be, I'm sure that'll be fun to watch. It's always fun to listen to those and hear what everybody's got to say. And it should be fun. State tournament next week for soccer. Should be a good one.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun for sure. So stay on the lookout for that. And otherwise, enjoy the competitions this weekend, everybody. And we'll see you next time on the Treasure Valley Prepcast on IdahoSports.com.